So imagine you sign a contract for a brand new job, right? You sit down across from the executives, the ink on the paper is still wet, and you put your name on this massive 6.5-year deal.
Right, you're basically the chosen one at that point.
Exactly. You are tasked with leading this highly visible, incredibly high-pressure organization into a bold new future. But then, imagine it is exactly 14 weeks later, a mere 106 days.
Oh,
You're
man.
just sitting at breakfast, someone walks up, hands you a note, and you are fired.
It's just done. Your desk is cleared out before your coffee even gets cold.
Right. But wait, because here's the real kicker. They fire you, but because of that massive contract you just signed, they hand you enough severance pay to ensure you, your children, and probably your children's children never have to work a single day in their lives ever again.
I mean, it's wild. It's the absolute definition of corporate cognitive dissonance.
Yeah. And the absolute cherry on top, the company that just executed this breathtakingly fast termination releases a public statement claiming that their primary focus is, quote, long-term stability.
Yeah, you really can't make it up.
Welcome to the deep dive. Because that isn't some hypothetical corporate nightmare. That is the exact £24 million reality of Liam Rosenior at Chelsea Football Club.
It really is.
Today, we are tearing apart how a 106-day tenure managed to break a 114-year-old record for failure.
Yeah, and we have a ton of material to get through. We've got official club statements, journalistic reports from The Athletic, and just a massive collection of reactions from the fans.
Exactly. And our mission today is to look at this entirely through the eyes of a frustrated, deeply skeptical football fan. Because if you are a supporter of this club right now, you are looking at a situation that defies all basic logic.
Completely.
We're dissecting the financial absurdity, the toxic dressing room culture, the multi-club corporate mismanagement, and just the sheer exhaustion of a fan base trapped in this endless cycle of managerial turnover.
Because, on paper, when an organization hires a manager in a 6.5-year deal, they are signaling a massive project.
Right.
They're telling the world, and more importantly, they're telling their own fans, we are building something, and this person is our architect.
Yeah, absolutely.
So to tear those blueprints up after just 106 days, it means something went catastrophically wrong, either with the architect or, frankly, with the people who hired him in the first place.
Okay, so let's unpack this timeline because it is honestly enough to give you whiplash. We really have to start with the actual on-pitch reality, the brutal statistics that forced this move.
The numbers are just grim.
They really were. So Rosenior was hired in January. He was essentially poached mid-season from a French club, Strasbourg.
Right, which we'll get into later because that is a whole other mess.
Oh, we definitely will. But fast forward to April, and he is out the door, the immediate trigger. A run of 5 straight Premier League defeats without scoring a single solitary goal.
5 games, 0 goals, 5 losses. And, context is everything here.
Right.
That specific run of offensive futility broke a 114-year-old record at the club. They have not had a run of results that abysmal since 1912.
1912. The Titanic was literally sinking the last time Chelsea's front line was this historically ineffective.
It's unbelievable.
You scroll through the Chelsea subreddit right now, and the fans are pointing this out with this mixture of just total horror and grim comedy.
Yeah, you have to laugh so you don't cry.
Exactly. The consensus online is just bleak. I saw one fan point out that they hadn't scored against a team outside of League One since the first week of March.
Wow.
And the only reason they scored then was in a humiliating 5-2 thrashing by PSG in Europe.
Right, the 5-2 loss. But what's truly fascinating, though, is how quickly the narrative shifted.
Yeah.
Because it did not start this way.
No, it didn't.
When Rosenior arrived in January, there was a genuine, measurable moment of optimism. The famous new manager bounce was actually in full effect.
Oh, absolutely it was. If you look back at that first game, he debuted with a 5-1 win against Charlton.
Right.
And that 5-1 scoreline was actually the biggest debut win for any Chelsea manager in the club's entire history.
That's a crazy stat.
I know. He was the first manager there to win his first game in charge since Antonio Conte all the way back in 2016. The away-in was literally chanting his name.
And tactically, you could kind of see what he was trying to do early on. The early reporting from the journalists highlighted his flexible formations.
Yeah, the tactical shift was obvious.
He brought in this energetic, high-pressing system and really emphasized central progression, moving the ball quickly through the middle rather than just endlessly cycling it out wide.
Right.
And it actually yielded results. In his first 9 games, the team won 6 penalties.
Wow.
To put that in perspective, before he arrived, they'd only won 4 all season. So there was a tangible statistical shift in their attacking threat.
Right, and he was saying all the right things to the media, too. I remember he gave this really impassioned press conference saying, my biggest focus is not being Chelsea manager, it's about being a winning Chelsea manager.
A great soundbite.
He even got nominated for Manager of the Month right out of the gate, but then it just evaporated.
With terrifying speed, honestly. After that initial surge, they just hit a tactical wall.
What happened? Did teams just figure him out?
Basically, yeah. Opposing teams figured out the press. They realized that the central progression was leaving Chelsea super vulnerable to counterattacks, and the broader form just collapsed.
Right.
In the 10 games stretching from December into the spring, the tactical approach just completely unraveled, culminating in that fatal, historic 5-game goal drought.
Okay, so this is where I have to push back a little on the whole poison chalice narrative.
Okay, let's hear.
I know the board is chaotic, but wait. I am not buying the excuse that he was just a victim of circumstance here.
You think it's on him?
Well, yeah. If you hand me a billion-pound squad filled with some of the most expensive attacking talent on the planet, I shouldn't be losing 5 games in a row without a single goal, regardless of the board's chaos above me.
That's fair.
Like, surely some of this is just fundamental tactical incompetence from Rosenior, right?
Yeah.
Was the job just mathematically too big for him?
That is exactly the debate raging among the analysts right now. You look at his resume prior to this. You've got Derby County, Hull City, and a brief, relatively successful stint at Strasbourg.
Right, not exactly elite European pedigree.
Exactly. To go from there to Chelsea is a quantum leap. Managing a club of that size is not just about moving magnets on a tactics board.
Right.
It is about managing massive egos, navigating a viciously intense media landscape, and dealing with an ownership group that expects immediate returns on billion-pound investments.
And the fans are outright calling it a massive overpromotion. I saw one incredible popular post that dubbed him the Liz Truss of football.
Oh my God, that's brutal.
Right. Just because his tenure was so shockingly short and disastrous. Another supporter wrote that they actually pitied him, saying they wouldn't enjoy being overpromoted so early in their career only to be publicly humiliated on a global stage.
Yeah, and you have to look at the reporting around the board's panic. The Athletic journalist covering the club noted that the hierarchy initially really wanted to give him much longer. I mean, hence the 6.5-year deal.
Obviously.
But the results forced their hand. They specifically cited the push for the FA Cup and Champions League qualification. They felt the season was slipping away entirely.
Which is rich, honestly, considering the reality of their season. The fans are laughing at the idea of a Champions League qualification.
Yeah, it was a pipe dream.
Mathematically, they were clinging by their fingernails. They were 7 points below Liverpool with an extra game played. The fans knew it was over.
Right.
Yet the board panics, sacks the guy they just hired to near decade-long contract, and who do they appoint? Callum McFarlane. As an interim.
A decision that somehow managed to bewilder an already bewildered fan base.
Right.
You remove a manager for poor results, ostensibly to save the immediate season, but you replace him with an interim coach who arguably has even less top-level pedigree.
And right before a massive FA Cup semifinal against Manchester City.
Yeah, the timing is just inexplicable.
One fan summed up the mood perfectly. They wrote, "Has anyone in football ever fallen upwards as quickly as this guy?" The supporters are looking at this entire sequence of events and concluding that the board has completely, irreparably lost the plot.
And frankly, you really can't blame them.
No, not at all. Because this isn't just a sporting disaster on the pitch. The numbers behind this firing are what truly pushed this into the realm of the absurd.
Oh, absolutely. We need to talk about the compensation package.
Yes.
Because when you terminate a 6.5-year contract after 14 weeks, the financial fallout is monumental.
The figures being reported are staggering. Some outlets are saying the payout is around 10 to 12 million pounds. Others are quoting a jaw-dropping 24 million pounds.
It's hard to even fathom.
Let's just pause and hold that number in our heads for a second. 24 million pounds for barely 4 months of work. One fan sarcastically noted, it is generational wealth accumulated in less than 4 months. Another admitted they wouldn't mind being paid a tenth of that for a few months' work.
I mean, sign me up.
Yeah.
But to really understand why fans are so furious about this, we have to look under the hood of modern football economics.
Okay, let's do it.
We need to talk about the Premier League's Profitability and Sustainability Rules, or PSR.
Right, yes. Let's break this down because you hear PSR and FFP thrown around constantly in the media like buzzwords. But how does this actually work in practice?
It's actually pretty straightforward once you get past the jargon.
Why does a manager's severance hurt the club more than, say, buying a new player?
It all comes down to a concept called amortization.
Amortization. Okay.
When a club like Chelsea buys a player for, say, £80 million, they don't record an £80 million loss on their books that year.
Oh, they don't.
No. If they sign that player to an 8-year contract, they spread that cost out over the length of the deal. They amortize it. So on the accounting spreadsheet, that player only costs them £10 million a year for 8 years.
Okay, so it's basically an accounting trick to stay under the league's spending limits. They're artificially lowering their yearly expenses on paper.
Exactly. It's totally legal, but it's a trick. But here's the trap. That trick does not work when you fire a manager.
Wait, really?
Really. When you sack a coach and have to pay out a 10, 15, or 24 million pound severance package, that entire amount hits the club's financial books immediately in that exact same financial year.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it is a massive concentrated lump sum of pure loss.
That is insane. So they can spread out the cost of a player over almost a decade, but the cost of their own incompetence in the boardroom has to be paid up front, instantly impacting their PSR limits.
Precisely. Every single million spent on a manager's severance is a million that instantly evaporates from their allowable spending budget. It cannot be spent on improving the squad, it cannot be used to balance the books, and if they breach those PSR limits, they face severe consequences. Point deductions, massive fines.
And they are already playing with fire. I mean, the reporting clearly highlights that Chelsea was recently handed a suspended transfer ban and a £10 million fine for breaching rules related to secret payments from the previous ownership era.
Yep, they're right up against the edge of the cliff financially.
Which makes this pattern of behavior so destructive. Because they aren't just paying off Rosenior, they are theoretically paying off multiple former managers simultaneously.
It's a compounding issue.
They likely still have obligations to Graham Potter, who was also sacked on a massive long-term deal. Then there was Enzo Maresca, who we will definitely get to shortly, and now Rosenior. The cumulative financial burden is crippling.
It really is.
Let me give you an analogy for what this looks like to the average person. It's like paying the minimum balance on 5 different maxed-out credit cards simultaneously. You are spending an absolute fortune every single month just to keep the bank from repossessing your house, but you aren't actually buying anything new.
That's a perfect way to look at it.
You are just servicing the debt of your past mistakes. Chelsea is financing a graveyard of sacked managers while trying to compete with rival teams who are actually using their money to buy new assets.
That is exactly what is happening. And the rival fans, Liverpool, Manchester United, Arsenal, they completely understand this.
Oh, they love it.
They are absolutely feasting on the schadenfreude. They are in the comment sections openly laughing at Chelsea. They view the club as a complete circus, just a financial black hole.
I saw one Manchester United fan who was just laughing about the severance, and another rival supporter joked that they wished they knew how much a 7-year contract severance actually cost.
Right.
But there is a darker, almost cynical joke floating around the fan base that I want your take on. Some fans are sarcastically claiming that Chelsea's strategy is so bizarre it must be intentional.
Oh, I've seen this.
They joke that by prematurely hiring all the up-and-coming managers, watching them fail, sacking them, and paying them off, Chelsea is effectively taking managerial talent out of the market so their rivals can't have them.
Yes, the masterclass in private equity theory.
Yes. Someone literally wrote, "This is the kind of strategy only the brightest minds in private equity could enact. Have the rest of the league right where we want them."
So,
You buy the talent, you break it, you pay it off, and you sideline it. It's hilarious, but it really gets at the core of the fans' anger toward the ownership group.
it's dark humor, but I think it reveals a profound shift in how the club is perceived. Under the current ownership group, Blueco, the fans feel the club is no longer operating like a traditional football institution.
Right.
It feels like a ruthless, highly leveraged hedge fund.
Which perfectly bridges us into the corporate jargon. Because you can't just blame the boardroom for the finances without looking at how they actually communicate with the public.
Oh, the communication is something else.
Let's look at the official club statement released by Chelsea after firing Rosenior. It is a masterpiece of corporate doublespeak.
The language an ownership group uses in these moments is incredibly revealing. It strips away the PR and shows you how they fundamentally view the sporting world.
Okay, listen to the exact sentence that broke the fan base. The club officially stated, quote, "As the club works to bring stability to the head coach position, we will undertake a process of self-reflection to make the right long-term appointment."
A process of self-reflection.
I mean, the fans went absolutely visceral over this. The irony is just breathtaking. One fan responded, "They ain't gonna self-reflect about shit."
Yeah, they called it right out.
Another pointed out the sheer absurdity of saying, "as the club works to bring stability," literally hours after firing a guy they hired 3 months ago on a 6.5-year contract.
What you are seeing here is a violent clash of cultures.
Totally.
You have Blueco, the ownership group, and they are deeply rooted in American private equity. They speak the cold, sanitized, metric-driven language of corporate acquisitions. They talk in terms of synergies, long-term KPIs, and market inefficiencies.
But they are operating in the deeply emotional, results now tribal reality of Premier League football.
Exactly.
You cannot look a season ticket holder in the eye, someone who just spent their hard-earned money to travel and watch their team lose 5 games in a row without scoring a goal, and tell them you are prioritizing stability with a straight face.
You really can't.
Yeah.
It highlights a complete disconnect from the product on the pitch.
Yeah.
To understand this, you really have to look at the difference between the current Blueco era and the previous owner, Roman Abramovich.
Oh, the contrast is stark.
Abramovich was a billionaire vanity owner. He bought the club as a highly expensive toy. He wanted trophies, he wanted prestige, and he honestly didn't care if he lost money doing it.
Yeah.
Blueco is an investment vehicle. They want portfolio growth. They view players and managers as assets to be optimized.
And the fans see right through it. They view the sporting directors, Paul Winstanley and Lawrence Stewart, along with the co-owner Bedadi Bali, as entirely divorced from the reality of the sport.
Completely disconnected.
The fans are screaming for accountability from the suits, not just the guy in the dugout. One fan wrote, "If this does not result in the sporting directors being let go, then we will be in the exact same spot sometime next season."
They aren't wrong.
Another just typed in all caps, "How do they still have jobs?"
The anger isn't fully directed at Rosenior. It's directed at the executives who set him up to fail.
And if you want to see the ugliest side of this private equity asset optimization model, you have to look at what they did to Strasbourg.
Yes. Let's talk about the multi-club ownership model, because this is where the corporate synergy stuff gets genuinely dark for the sport.
It really does.
Blueco doesn't just own Chelsea, they also own Strasbourg over in France.
Right. And before January, Rosenior was managing Strasbourg.
Yeah.
And by all accounts, he was doing pretty well. The reporting shows they were in the semifinals of the French Cup and actively pushing for European qualification spots. They had real momentum.
And then, because the mothership in London hits a crisis, the executives at Blueco just snap their fingers.
Right.
They pluck Rosenior out of Strasbourg mid-season, effectively blowing up their campaign, and drop him into the meat grinder at Chelsea.
It is the definition of corporate asset stripping. They treated a historic French football club like a minor league affiliate.
The fans were furious on Strasbourg's behalf. I saw one fan who laid it out perfectly. They said, "I'm so furious for the Strasbourg fans. They literally plucked him out of their mid-season without a care in the world for them, to pretty much set him up to fail in their terribly managed Chelsea club, to then fire him 4 months later."
Yeah, it's tragic for the French fans.
But it wasn't just the manager they stripped, right?
No, the personnel shuffling was constant and highly disruptive.
Yeah.
The reporting details how Blueco recalled a young player, Mamadou Sarr, from his loan at Strasbourg.
Yeah.
Now, Sarr was starting regularly in France, building confidence, developing as a player. Blueco brings him back to London, benches him, and completely stunts his development.
Oh, man.
In return, they send a different player, Anselmino to Strasbourg. Anselmino arrives, plays exactly 15 minutes, gets injured, and is out again.
It's just moving numbers around on a spreadsheet, but with human careers. It is corporate asset stripping disguised as a sporting project.
Exactly.
And because the club's official statement read so much like a soulless corporate press release, the fans responded with absolute comedic brilliance. They started writing satirical LinkedIn posts on Rosenior's behalf.
Which is incredibly telling, isn't it? It shows exactly how the fans perceive the modern manager's role under this specific ownership group as just another middle management cog.
I have to read some of these. They are incredible.
Please do.
One fan drafted a full update. "I'm excited to announce that I am starting a new chapter. after an intense and rewarding 4 months at Chelsea. While my 6.5-year contract was cut short, I am incredibly proud of the historical milestones we reached together, including a run of results not seen since 1912.
The hashtags they used were the best part.
Exactly. They loaded it with things like hashtag open to work, hashtag growth mindset, hashtag new beginnings, hashtag B2B sales.
B2B sales, that's hilarious.
Another one wrote a list of accomplishments. During my time at Chelsea, I achieved so much. Won my first game in charge, became fluent in high-performance language, personally watched 8 goals go in against PSG, learned that Pedro Neto nor anyone in the dressing room do not, in fact, have to listen to me.
And that joke right there about the players not having to listen is the perfect pivot point.
Yes, it is.
Because you can't just blame the boardroom for those corporate buzzwords or the manager's tactical failures. When you look at what actually happened on the pitch in those final 5 games, the players were communicating just as loudly with their body language.
Absolutely, because you can have bad tactics and you
Yeah.
can have a chaotic board, but what we saw on the pitch looked like something much worse. It looked like a total collapse of professional effort.
The terminology used in the sport is downing tools.
That's right.
It implies that the players have, either consciously or subconsciously, simply stopped trying. They stop tracking back, they stop pressing, they stop making the extra run because they no longer believe in or respect the authority figure in the dugout.
Yeah.
And all the reporting indicates this squad completely downed tools on Rosenior.
One observer noted, Rosenior was clearly out of his depth, but the lack of effort from the players under him was disgusting. I get that they didn't respect him, but they showed contempt for the badge.
Contempt for the badge. That's a heavy accusation.
It is. Contempt for the badge. If you are a fan who spends a significant portion of your income to travel and watch these guys play, seeing them jog around the pitch with zero intensity is the ultimate sin.
And Rosenior essentially admitted he had lost control of the culture in his final days.
He did, yeah.
There was a highly publicized incident involving Enzo Fernandez, one of the club's most expensive signings. Following a deceit to Manchester City, Rosenior actually suspended Fernandez.
Wow.
He made him unavailable for selection as a disciplinary measure and gave an interview stating clearly, "A line was crossed in terms of our culture and what we want to build."
He also gave this very weird quote in the press about what management means. I don't know if you saw this.
Remind me.
He said, in English, manage. If you split the 2 words, it's man-age. You're aging men.
Oh, right. I remember that.
He was trying to force these young, highly paid athletes to grow up. But the methods he used to establish his authority, they are fascinating and honestly a bit bizarre.
Well, this gets to the psychology of leadership in a high-stress environment. When you have a manager who is unproven at the absolute elite level, trying to command a room full of global superstars, they often resort to psychological tactics to establish an alpha presence.
Right. Let's look at the details the journalist dug up because they paint a picture of a guy desperately overthinking his communication strategy.
Yeah. Some of the stories are wild.
In his first week, reports say Rosenior banned the players from wearing gloves in training.
Wait, he took their gloves away.
Yes. Why? Specifically so the players could hear him clapping when he wanted to emphasize a point.
Oh my God.
Yeah, literally so they could hear his claps better.
I mean, it's an attempt to create a sharper, more visceral environment. It's meant to strip away comfort and demand acute attention. But when you apply that to a group of international superstars who are used to bespoke treatment, it doesn't look authoritative. It comes off as petty micromanagement.
And it gets even weirder. Journalists embedded around the club reported that Rosenior wanted to utilize Legos to explain his future tactical plans to the players.
Legos.
Now, I am a huge fan of a good Lego set, but put yourself in the shoes of a 22-year-old winger making £200,000 a week.
Right.
If your new boss, who just came from a mid-table French club, pulls out a plastic pirate ship to explain how to break down a low block, you are going to check out mentally.
It highlights a massive psychological gap. Elite players, especially this current generation of Gen Z footballers who have massive social media followings, immense wealth, and huge entourages, they need to inherently believe that the manager in the room has the answers.
They need to respect him.
Exactly.
Yeah.
You need undeniable gravitas. A manager like Pep Guardiola or Carlo Ancelotti walks into a room, and the respect is automatic because of their legacy. Rosenior didn't have that legacy, so he tried to substitute it with gimmicks, and the players saw right through it.
We saw that lack of respect manifest physically during a match.
Oh, the referee incident.
Yes.
Yeah.
There's a story in the reporting about a game where the players spontaneously decided to huddle around the referee to protest a decision, completely ignoring the bench.
Yeah, that was a bad look.
When Rosenior was asked about it by the media, he weakly defended them, saying the players just wanted to respect the ball. But to the fans watching, it didn't look like respecting the ball. It looked like pure chaos. It looked like the inmates running the asylum.
It really did.
Yeah.
But, we have to try and look at this from the player's perspective for a moment, just to understand the emotional toll this environment takes.
Wait, really? You're going to defend the players here?
I mean, just think about the environmental instability.
Yeah.
Imagine you are a highly rated 21-year-old prospect. You are signed for a record fee. You are flown to London, and you are promised that you are the cornerstone of a massive long-term project.
Okay.
And then, over the course of the next 24 months, you have 4 completely different managers screaming wildly contradictory tactical instructions at you.
Okay, I see your point. The whiplash must be intense.
It's crazy. 1 month, a manager is telling you to play slow, methodical, possession-based football. 3 months later, a new guy comes in and demands you sprint for 90 minutes in a frantic high press.
Right?
3 months after that, another guy is showing you Legos. How can any young player build chemistry with their teammates or develop a cohesive footballing identity when the primary authority figure is constantly being swapped out? It severely stunts the development of the squad.
Okay, that is a fair psychological assessment, but let me challenge that.
Go ahead.
We hear all this talk about these young guys needing stability and being victims of the board's chaos, but are they actually victims? Or do these players just down tools the second things get hard because they know, deep down, the board will always fire the coach before they sell the players?
That's the big question.
Are they driving the managers out?
That is the ultimate toxic power dynamic in modern football, especially at a club operating like Chelsea. Look at the financial leverage.
Right.
This ownership group has invested over £1 billion in playing staff. They have handed these players unprecedented 7, 8, and even 9-year contracts to exploit that amortization trick we talked about earlier.
Right, tying them to the club until the next decade.
Exactly. So what happens when the dressing room collectively decides a manager's methods are annoying or his tactics aren't working? The board has to make a choice. Do they back the manager, which means potentially alienating and depreciating £500 million worth of playing assets who are locked into 8-year deals? Or do they simply sack the manager, pay the £15 million severance, and hit the reset button?
The manager loses that math equation every single time.
Every single time. The players know they hold all the cards. They know they're the protected assets.
And let me tell you, the fans have absolutely zero sympathy for the players in this dynamic.
I can imagine.
They don't see victims of instability. They see spoiled mercenaries. There was a quote from early in Rosenior's tenure where he praised the squad, saying, "For them to work as hard as they have done for me is a credit to them."
A bit premature.
Very. Fast forward 3 months, and the fans are saying the exact opposite. One supporter wrote, "Players quitting on the manager 3 months in is a massive indictment on the players."
Yeah.
They view the squad as completely uncooperative, lacking the basic professional pride to play for the shirt regardless of who is standing on the touchline.
Which perfectly contextualizes why the fan base is so utterly exhausted.
Yeah.
Because Rosenior's 106 days did not happen in a vacuum.
No, it didn't.
It is merely the latest, fastest rotation of a deeply cyclical pattern at this club.
The ghost of managers past. If you look at Chelsea's recent history, it is quite literally a graveyard of elite managerial talent. Let's just list the casualties to give this some perspective.
It's a long list.
You have Thomas Tuchel, a man who literally won them the Champions League, sacked abruptly.
Right.
Then they pay a world record compensation fee to buy Graham Potter out of a brilliant long-term project at Brighton. They hand him a massive contract, promise him time, and sack him months later.
Yep.
Then comes Mauricio Pochettino. He endures a brutal season, finally gets the team to click and qualify for Europe at the very end, and they mutually part ways days later. And then, right before Rosenior, you had Enzo Maresca.
Maresca's departure might be the most illuminating of them all when trying to understand the structural dysfunction at the club.
How so?
Because the reporting strongly indicates he did not get sacked for poor results on the pitch.
Yeah.
He essentially rage quit the job.
Yes, the details on this are wild. The fans were discussing how he left due to a massive, irreconcilable power struggle with the board and the sporting directors over the medical department of all things.
It's crazy.
One fan recalled, "Wasn't there a power struggle over whether he could field his preferred team or not? The physios were deciding who gets how many minutes."
Think about what that means for a manager's authority.
Right.
When a head coach resigns because he feels he literally does not have the autonomy to pick his own starting 11, because data analysts or sporting directors are dictating player minutes from a boardroom, it points to a systemic structural rot above the manager's head.
Absolutely.
It proves that the executives are interfering in daily football operations to an entirely unsustainable degree.
As one fan put it, imagine having such a toxic club culture that your head coach rage quits after a draw. And because of this constant grinding chaos, the fans are just completely numb. There is this heavy, suffocating apathy. And it is entirely rooted in the contrast between this current chaos and the club's past standards.
The Roman Abramovich era casts a very long shadow over Stamford Bridge.
Huge. Under Abramovich, the club was famous for having a quick trigger finger. They fired managers constantly. But here is the massive difference. They won.
They were undeniably brutally successful.
Right.
They operated with a chaotic urgency. If a manager wasn't delivering elite results, they were gone. But the next guy would step in and immediately win the Premier League or the FA Cup or the Champions League.
Right.
The chaos was a catalyst for success.
Now, as the fans see it, the club is still just as ruthless, but they are terrible on the pitch.
Yeah.
One fan sarcastically commented, the club was not very well run during the Abramovich era, eh? Mocking the current ownership's claims of bringing stability and smart investment. The fans are actively yearning for the old days.
They want the big personalities back.
Exactly. They are begging for the eras of Jose Mourinho or Antonio Conte. Managers who were incredibly demanding, often difficult to work with, but who instilled a terrifying winning mentality.
They're even nostalgic for the ultimate interim manager, Gus Hiddink.
Oh my God, the Gus Hiddink nostalgia in the forums is so real. He was the guy Abramovich would always call to parachute in and save a collapsing season.
He was the fixer.
Fans are literally writing, Gus Hiddink interim FA Cup win loading, and bro, I would kill for a Gus Hiddink rerun right now. They just want someone, anyone, who understands the actual weight and standard of the club.
Because right now, the club has entirely lost its identity. It is a ship without a rudder. And the terrifying question for the fans is, where on earth do they go from here?
Right.
They have Cal McFarlane as an interim, but they absolutely must make a permanent appointment in the summer.
But seriously, who takes this job?
Exactly.
The fans are openly debating this. They throw out names of the hottest tactical minds in Europe right now. Guys like Andoni Iraola at Bournemouth or Xabi Alonso. But then they immediately catch themselves and ask, what top-tier, self-respecting manager, someone with actual options and a rising trajectory, would willingly step into this poison chalice?
It is a massive deterrent. If you are an elite managerial talent, you look at the landscape of the Premier League.
Yeah.
You look at Arsenal. They backed Mikel Arteta through 2 very difficult, very poor early years, gave him absolute control, and allowed him to build a squad capable of challenging for titles.
Right.
You look at Manchester City, enjoying sustained absolute stability under the genius of Pep Guardiola.
Sure.
You even look at Liverpool, who meticulously mapped out a clear, structured succession plan for life after Jurgen Klopp.
A Liverpool fan actually jumped into the Chelsea threads to rub this in, pointing out the stark contrast and saying, not every club gets a Klopp era.
Ouch. Exactly.
Yeah.
The lack of long-term vision in Chelsea isn't just embarrassing. It actively destroys their competitive advantage in the market.
Because the best managers won't come.
Right. Elite managers want control. They want structural stability. They want a coherent sporting strategy that aligns the academy, the recruitment team, and the first team. Chelsea currently offers absolutely none of those things.
No.
Instead, they offer a massive upfront salary, zero control over the dressing room, and a highly probable early termination.
Which is exactly why you see fans resorting to pure emotion, begging the club to bring back absolute legends.
Yeah, the emotional appointment.
You see comments pleading to bring back John Terry or Frank Lampard. And to be clear, they aren't asking for Lampard because they think he is going to arrive and reinvent modern positional play.
Oh, definitely not.
They want him because they're desperate to inject some actual Chelsea standard back into the building.
They want a figurehead whose authority is derived from their legacy, not their job title.
Right.
They want someone who can walk into a dressing room of 22-year-old millionaires and command instant respect. Someone who doesn't need to take the players' gloves away to get them to listen, because their mere presence demands attention.
One fan summarized the entire Blue Cow era with a critique that I think perfectly captures the tragedy of this situation. They wrote, Chelsea seems more like a talent agency than a football team at Rumem. Just truckloads of talented young players bought at a premium and not a single coherent idea of how to make them win a game of football.
A talent agency. Wow.
Yeah,
That is a devastatingly accurate description of the private equity approach to squad building when it fails.
it really is.
You acquire high-potential assets, you stack them on the balance sheet, but you completely forget that the sport requires you to actually build a cohesive, functioning human team.
So, as we bring this all together, this deep dive has really been a journey through the absolute looking glass of modern football economics and management.
It's been a lot to process.
To summarize the sheer scale of the catastrophe we've unpacked today, Chelsea has just executed a historically bad 106-day managerial tenure, resulting in a 114-year-old record for failure.
Yep.
They are triggering a massive multi-million-pound severance package that instantly threatens their financial stability under league rules. And they're dealing with a dressing room full of incredibly expensive assets who are in open, apathetic revolt.
And presiding over all of this chaos is an ownership group that continues to hide behind cold corporate buzzwords like self-reflection and long-term stability, while the fan base has completely and utterly lost faith in their basic competence to run a football club.
And look, if you are listening to this, even if you are not a Chelsea fan, even if you don't care about the Premier League or soccer at all, this matters.
It's a huge lesson.
Because if you manage a team at work or if you run a business, this is the ultimate cautionary tale. It proves that you cannot simply buy chemistry. You cannot mandate a high-performance culture by handing someone a 6-year contract and throwing around LinkedIn terminology.
Right. True culture is built through consistency, through earned trust, and through shared struggle.
You cannot put human resilience into a financial spreadsheet. It defies amortization.
Exactly.
And that leaves us with a fascinating, kind of terrifying thought to walk away with today. We've talked about the broken systems, the accounting tricks, and the toxic dressing rooms.
Yeah.
The traditional rules of building a legacy in sports are being completely thrown out the window by these new financial models.
They really are.
So I leave you with this final thought to ponder on your own. If a 6.5-year contract, a legally binding document meant to symbolize ultimate faith, architectural planning, and long-term vision, can be casually torn up in just 3 months without a second thought.
It's crazy to think about.
Are we entering an era where being a football manager at the highest level is no longer about building a sporting legacy at all? Is it simply about navigating a high-stakes, ruthless, short-term gig economy where the ultimate prize isn't lifting a silver trophy at the end of the season, but securing the massive life-changing severance check when you inevitably get fired?